Hey, everybody, welcome into another episode of Last Stop Waterfowl Outdoors Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Robery, and as always, I wish you all the best out there for all our fellow listeners. If you're listening in the truck or you're listening at home, wherever you may be, maybe sitting at work this weekend, thank you so much for tuning in to a new episode here of Last Stop Waterfowl Outdoors. Well, guys, it's been a couple of weeks since we last got together, and a lot has been going on. We are now officially open for the 2021-22 duck season here in Louisiana, and it has been off to a fast-paced start. There's mixed reports from across the state. We've been talking to a lot of people in the field from all across the state hunting different areas, and we have reports that we've been getting, whether good or bad. The majority of the reports seem to be pretty good overall for the opener here in Louisiana. So we're excited about it. We're going to fill you guys in on what we're hearing, what we're seeing out in the field. As I myself have been on vacation over the last 8 or 9 days, I got a couple of more days to go while I'm on vacation. And Jackson and myself, my son, have been out in the field. We've been doing quite a bit of hunting from across the state. So if you guys are tuning in here on YouTube and watching us live, then we thank you for doing that. Otherwise, you may be streaming on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. So thank you so much for tuning in. And this show is going to be a really special show that we hope you guys enjoy. We have a couple of guests on the show, one of them, which you're very familiar with. We've had him on. He brings a lot of waterfowl knowledge to the table here, especially in Louisiana and Arkansas in that region. Mr. Roland Cortez. He's up at Dave's Bayou this afternoon. And our other special guest that we're going to be welcoming to the show and having on with us for this episode is Mr. Nate Verdin with Fallen Tide TV. So happy to have Nate on. Really, he's a gentleman that we struck up a relationship on social media, as we do with a lot of other fellow outdoorsmen, and really like his content. You guys need to check out his YouTube channel if you're not familiar with it, at Fallen Tide TV. He's also very active on Instagram and Facebook as well, and brings a lot of great outdoor content to the table, guys. And it's all based here in Louisiana. And, I didn't really want to do an episode over the last week or so because I was so tired of all the small talk leading up to hunting season, up to duck season here in Louisiana, that I said, you know what, I'm going to wait till it kicks off. We're gonna have a couple of guests on the show that are out there doing some hunting, that have some reports, some accurate reports on what they're seeing as far as migration goes, and so on and so forth. And that's why we decided to take a week or two off before recording another episode. So having Nate and Roland on this week with us, I think it's going to be very interesting for you guys to listen to what we're seeing out in the field, along with myself. And hopefully that'll help you guys and bring maybe a little bit more success to your bag. So without further ado, guys, I'm going to kick it off. I'm going to bring both Nate and Roland in to join us, and we're going to get started here. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this for about the next 45 minutes to an hour. So let me see if I could bring them in here. We're going to bring Nate in. What's going on, Nate? How you doing?
What's up? How y'all doing?
Good, man. Doing good. Let's see if we can get rolling. This is our first time we do a three-way like this, man, on the podcast. So, Roland, we got you?
You got me, Jacob.
All right. Roland looks pretty comfortable, man. For all you guys on YouTube watching right now, Roland's kicked back in the recliner. He killed him a couple of limits of birds this morning, him and his clients, from what I was told. So, looking pretty comfortable this afternoon.
Yeah, I got the ball game on, just relaxing.
Man, I was watching that Ohio State-Michigan game a few minutes ago. That's a hell of a game right now going on.
Yeah, I'm watching Alabama and Auburn. They just kicked off.
They just kicked off. Yep. For last big weekend, I guess, for us here as LSU Tiger fans, if you guys are Tiger fans, which I'm assuming being from Louisiana, most of us are. So we got one more game for sure.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, Nate, thank you so much, man. We appreciate you joining us this week. Roland's been on the show a couple of times, and you and I have been talking for quite some time, man, about getting together and doing a show. And I appreciate you joining us on this week's episode. And
appreciate you having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. Glad to do it, dude. To be honest with you, man, I'm a huge fan of what you doing over at Fallen Tide TV. And I was telling the listeners, if they're not familiar with your channel, they need to go check it out, man, because you you do some exceptional work. Very good as far as bringing outdoor content here in Louisiana to the viewers, man.
I appreciate that. I do.
Well, I'm interested to know, man, how did you get started with Fallen Tide? Well, explain the concept to all the listeners, how that kind of came up and how it got to where it is today. Because right now, man, if you go check you out on YouTube, you have quite a loyal following right now on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook.
Yeah, I'd say it's growing pretty steady. But the reason that I started Fallen Tide, I guess it's kind of always been a dream of mine to start a Louisiana-based group, I would say, or just somewhere where I can share content and actually tell the story of waterfowl hunting here in Louisiana. Just kind of put a spotlight on the good and the bad down here. So it's a lot of work duck hunting down here, and we do a lot of interesting things. And so I just wanted to bring a light to that. It's kind of always been something that I've wanted to do and never really had the resources to put it all together. I've had some experience with a couple of different companies, getting in the outdoors and doing some filming and working for groups, whether it be just volunteering my time or actually working for them. Just trying to gain some experience and get some exposure with those guys. And over the years, I've kind of learned enough, I thought, to go ahead and start something myself. And it's been very rewarding to say the least. I've really enjoyed Fallen Tide.
Yeah, man. You bring, like I said, you bring some great content, Roland. I know you watch it. And you and I have talked about it. When I first mentioned contacted Nate, he was somebody of interest that I wanted to have on the show here at Last Stop Waterfowl, just to get him on the podcast, man. Because at the end of the day, we kind of all share the same passion. All three of us here share the same passion for the most part. And it's something that I think, Roland, you in that point in your career, and you talked about it before, where you kind of looking at maybe doing this full time. You're looking at maybe making a career out of this and getting out of the traditional 9 to 5 or shift work, that type of stuff at the plants and all that type of stuff. And I know I feel the same way. Like I'd love to turn this into a career eventually. And Nate, you may be the same. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, we all share the same passion, it seems like, which is why it kind of attracted me to reach out to you guys and have you on, because I think other outdoorsmen are going to enjoy hearing you guys' stories,
Yeah.
So Roland, up at Dave's Bayou right now, we're up in North Louisiana. On this episode, what we're going to talk about, guys, is kind of where we at in the waterfowl season. We now officially wide open with waterfowl here. And, most listeners tuning into the show, that's what they tune in every week to talk about, is the duck hunt. What's going on? What are we seeing out in the field? And between us three, we have quite a bit of knowledge so far this year in the 2021-2022 split, first split of what's happening out there. How are things going up at Dave's Bayou, Roland? And what are you seeing up there, man, as far as the birds going?
Oh, Jacob, I mean, it's the season's been going good. We've been killing, a lot of birds, and we've kind of had 2 or 3 pushes since the season has opened. We had a push today, and all 3 blinds, limited out pretty early this morning. We had a little push on Thursday, which was Thanksgiving Day, and then that following Monday we had a push of birds. But so we are getting fresh birds out of the north, but lately it's kind of goes up and down up here. Some days we kill them good, and then some days we kill just a few. But I've been staying up in the double digits every day. But we don't hunt big groups. We hunt 4 and 5 people. So I mean, it doesn't take much to shoot 4 or 5 limited ducks.
Yeah, you're not getting tons of pressure like public land, like we see, and probably on the public side. Now, Nate, or go ahead. I'm sorry, Roland.
No, and it's still pretty dry up here. I mean, we got a little bit of rain yesterday. We may get a little bit today, but furthermore, it's just been dry up here.
Yeah, that's a good point to make too. It's staying dry. Man, to be honest with you, we haven't had a whole lot of rainouts for the first part of the season so far, which has been nice. A lot of good days. Nate, you and I, we pound public land for the most part. And you hunt. We not too far from each other. I live here in Gonzales. You in Hammond, which I work in Hammond. I'm only about an hour away from where you live at. but we both kind of travel all over the state to hunt different areas, different bodies of water. So far in your experience, what are you seeing out in the field? Are you happy with the way the season's kicked off? Or are you disappointed in what you're seeing? What you seeing out there in the field?
I'd say we had a pretty rough opener. Somebody was in the spot that we were trying to get. The wind was very bad, so we had a pretty bad opening day. Second day did really good, and we kind of been on them, steady since then. I've noticed the migration seems a little bit more normal, like what it should be than usual. The last few years, I haven't noticed much change in the bird numbers when you get a hard cold front. But this year, it seems like a couple of fronts we had, they seem to push down a little bit of birds. Like Roland said, that may be because of the lack of water up north. That's at least that's what my theory is, and I'm sure you'd agree.
Yeah, definitely.
Then of course, it's still not what it used to be. I look back at 10, 15 years ago, the amount of bird numbers, was a lot higher than what it is now. But you can find birds in isolated areas, it seems like, and we've been lucky enough to find them. I've been off the last 2 weeks from work, and when you're off like that, usually you can find birds if you actually take the time to go and look for them. So they're there. Right. You just got to find them.
Yep. That's a big part of it, and we talked about that. Guys, the thing about it is I hear guys. You get on social media, and you see guys out there. They talking about no birds. Louisiana ain't got no birds. I saw a guy this morning. He posted a question. I think the guy was from out of state. He said he was considering moving here and asking if he should maybe purchase land to waterfowl hunt, or if he should maybe just hunt public land. And guys were chiming in saying no ducks on public land. You can't be successful on public land in Louisiana anymore. And a guy mentioned something in there. He responded to it, and he said, "You know what?" He said, guys compare it to the days of old. That's the problem. Everybody's trying to compare it to the way it was when we were kids, when our dads were hunting, our grandfathers were hunting. And, he said there is birds to be killed. It's just not the numbers and not the birds that we used to see back in the day. And he said it's time for hunters to start kind of looking to the future and not comparing it to what it was back in the day. And I thought that was a really good point that guy made. He wasn't ugly about it. He was just telling the truth, in my opinion, on that. What are y'all guys' thoughts on that?
I agree with that. I definitely think the waterfowl experience is different now than what it used to be, and that's okay. As long as you embrace it, as long as you understand that, like, it's not what it used to be. You're not just going to be able to set up anywhere. And in some ways, I think it's more fun. Sometimes it's a little bit more fun whenever you got to put in a little bit more work. When it's not a guaranteed limit whenever you go. You appreciate the limit a little bit more. You appreciate the few birds you do get, on the bad hunts. So, it's just the way you look at it. It's all a mindset,
Yeah, it is. It is. Roland, what's your take on that? What do you think?
Man, limits are hard to, not really say hard to come by these days, but you got to work a little harder at them for sure to get them limits. But man, it's more about them members than them limits these days for me.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And I tell I'm getting up there. I'm 42. I say I'm getting up there. I'm not getting up there, but I feel older than I was 10 years ago. Duck hunting out there in the field, I can tell you that. And every year it gets worse and worse. I get a little bit fatter, a little bit more out of shape. And I tell my boys, I say, Daddy, man, I'm going to have to get in better shape if I'm going to do this 20 years down the road. But, I laugh at it. We joke about it, but it is true. You have to get out there. You got to put in that time, like Nate said and Roland said, and you got to scout, man. A lot of these guys that are complaining about no birds, they trying to internet scout. That's a big thing nowadays with access to the internet. They might listen to a podcast like we doing here. They may get on social media and scout. But that's not where the success is going to come from, in my opinion. You may have some days where they're lucky and they get a little lucky, but overall, you have to get out there and put some feet on the ground, especially public land hunting.
Yeah, and Jacob, really I say this too. I say this too about that point. A lot of times what people do is they go out and they kill a limit of ducks in a spot, and they want to keep going back to that spot, and down here in this public land, especially, you got to move around. You got to go check. Most of the time, I'd say 9 times out of 10, we do not hunt the same hole twice. And but that's been whatever we're finding most of our success is whenever we're staying mobile and we're moving around. We go hunt, we drive around, we find other birds in another spot that hadn't been hunted, and then we hunt that spot the next time we go. So
yeah, trying to keep it fresh.
Guys need to stop hunting the same spots and depending on the same areas to produce over and over again because it's just not going to happen, especially now when you're dealing with stale birds in between migrations. So.
Yeah, that's a very good point because we creatures of habit, Nate, to be honest with you. And Roland, you would agree with that, I'm sure, too. We have success in one area, so you have a tendency, okay, I want to go back to that area,
Right.
And the problem is we're not getting the big pushes of migration of birds that we used to get. So like you said, you're not necessarily getting these big groups come in with a fresh cold front because we've been having some nice cold fronts lately, And I agree with you, what you said, Nate, as far as I have noticed a little change in birds, more birds pushing in with these fronts, but that's not always the case. Me and Roland had talked about this on a previous episode, that a lot of the success I've had over the last couple of years, and he had, is a lot of those days where you get, these warm fronts actually come through. These south winds, they'll shift in and they'll blow those ducks out of the Gulf of Mexico back inland to where we may be hunting, Yep. So that's something that has, changed over the years because, or I say it's changed over the years. Maybe it didn't. It just seems like when I was young, hunting with my grandfather and my dad, it seems like they were always wanting that big cold front,
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily an equation for success,
Yeah, it just seems that, and today your better hunts come on the south wind. Look, today we had a southeast wind today. And look, we had so many birds coming in this morning, we couldn't load the gun fast enough.
That's what Roland was telling me when we talked earlier. Roland, you said y'all saw a big push of green-winged teal today. That was the thing, huh?
That's right. We had a really big push of green wings today, and most of them are coming out of the south. So
a lot of them
birds. A lot of them birds were pushing up from the south, heading north.
Yeah, and what, Nate, you said it makes a lot of sense?
That actually makes a lot of sense because last weekend, we had an unusual amount of green wings, I'd say, down here. And so you get that south wind, they probably push them down this way.
Yeah, it's pushing them back up to where they are. Yesterday, I was down in the marsh yesterday. I hunted, and we didn't see a lot of teal like we did the week before, which kind of, once again, makes a little bit of sense there because they may have pushed more up towards y'all, Roland. If they came out of the south, they may have moved out and went up a little bit because we didn't nearly see the teal numbers that we saw in the last week or two.
They wasn't here yesterday because we didn't kill them yesterday and we didn't see them. So they pushed in. They pushed in last night or early this morning.
Yep. And Nate, you had something you wanted to say? Add?
No, I was just
okay. I thought you. I saw you raise the finger. I thought you were.
I said they're going back up north.
They're going back up north. That's right. That's right. So,
and tomorrow could be different. I mean, we still having a south wind. We got a little light rain coming in, so the birds, in case more birds coming up tomorrow, or they may be going back down.
Yeah, that's a good point because especially teal, Roland, we talked about that before too. Teal are always on the move, man. It never seems like you can pattern teal too well. They tend to be there one day and they go on the next.
What's been a little bit odd this year is that we haven't been seeing the real big numbers of pintails like we've been seeing up here. Like this morning, we're seeing a few flocks, but last weekend and into the week, I mean, we were shooting out 7 or 6, however many birds we had to kill every day, and plus letting more go. And it's just funny how them pintails just disappear like that.
Yeah, that's something I don't. Go ahead.
We ended up killing 2 this morning, but we didn't see that many. You figure with that south wind, they would be pushing off of Catahoula or coming from the coast, but we just didn't see them big numbers of pintails today.
Really? Yep.
But the green winger showed up.
The green wings showed up. Yeah, from what I heard, they did pretty well, man. How many groups of hunters did y'all have this morning?
We had 3 blinds hunting this morning, and each blind had anywhere from 4 to 5 people. So one blind had 48, one blind had 54, I think, and then we had 48 this morning.
Okay, all right. And now, Nate, you said you took off the weekend. You weren't hunting this weekend. Yeah, Nate's a brand new father, by the way. Congratulations on that. We have a baby, a new baby. Man. So I tell you what, I'm more impressed. Not only am I impressed with Nate for his talent with the filming and the videos and all that, but for that man to balance the baby, the wife, and hunting season and still produce the content he's producing, that's pretty amazing, man. I have to say, I couldn't do it.
A lot of late nights.
A lot of late
A lot
nights.
of late nights.
Yeah, I bet it is, man. That's pretty awesome though, that you can keep it going and you're able to put that content out there, man. So that's pretty cool. But congratulations on the baby. We had a baby boy, is what it was?
That's a baby girl.
Baby girl.
Yep.
And how old is she?
She is coming on 4 months.
4 months,
yeah.
man. Roland, you remember them days?
Oh, I definitely.
Yeah, we had a different time now. You hang around your buddies that have those newborns and you're like, oh man, I remember that. You never forget some of those memories. But what's pretty cool is once they get to that age where you can start bringing them with you, and it's a whole new experience, man. So I'm sure you're looking forward to that, and that's something you're going to enjoy a lot. So
yeah, I'm gonna try to introduce her to waterfowl hunting. If she likes it, great, and if she don't, I understand.
yeah, oh yeah, you got to try it, man. That's like my youngest one. He's not ate up with it as much as my oldest one. That's Jackson, who's always in the videos and with me. But he can take it or leave it. It seems like he's 7 years old, my youngest one, and he has a fear, I think, of missing out in the neighborhood we live in. He wants to be a part of everything going on with his friends. And he says, Dad, I'd rather just play with my friends. So I try to drag him out there, but I don't want to make him miserable at the same time. And when he does go out, though, he does enjoy it. So that's a good thing. You got to at least introduce him to it and let him make get a feel for if they like it or they don't like it. So, but something, Nate, that really catches my interest that you do, from what I've seen in all the videos, is a lot of the times now waterfowl hunters, big boats, man, big boats, big motors, all that type of stuff. That's not really your style, from what I see. You take a different approach, an old school approach to it, and kind of fill us in on all the, listeners that are tuning in to your setup as far as how you approach waterfowl hunting here in Louisiana and what's successful for you.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it's really like a conscious thing that I did. I think part of it is just not having the money for a nice rig. I've just kind of been dealing with the same boat that I've had for years, and I really haven't seen a reason to change what I do and what I've grown up doing. The way I kind of look at it is, if I have a boat that I can do everything with, I'll go with that over something that I can only do one style of hunting with. Like, for example, a lot of the public land that we use, a lot of public land that we hunt on, should I say, you can't bring a surface drive on it. As much as I'd like to have a surface drive, I can't bring a surface drive on a lot of the public land that I hunt. So I got my outboard, I got my pirogue, and I just go out with that, and I just pond hop, find spots to go. And I've had success with it, so I really haven't had a reason to drop the money on a brand new rig, money that I really don't have.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Yep. And that makes a lot of sense, man. I think a lot of us start out that way. Roland, growing up where you grew up at, coming up when you were coming up at my age and even younger than that when you started out, surface drives wasn't even around back then. We didn't have surface drives and long tails, and you might have saw some long tails kind of being introduced at that time. But we all kind of started out pirogue hunting, and kayaks, when that started getting popular, that started coming into play a little bit. Is that how you started out as well when you came into the waterfowl hunt?
Pretty much. Look, I grew up. I had a putt with a 9 horsepower, single piston motor. Man, you cranked it by hand, and I had a pirogue in it.
Yep.
That's kind of how I started, and I hunted like that for many years until I got older. I bought me I still hunted with pirogues for a while until I bought my first long tails, and still hunted out of a pirogue for a while. But then I bought the surface drive, and you just kind of like that luxury of sitting in a nice boat with a nice blind on it, where you can cook breakfast and have fun with your friends. But the way Nate's doing it, going back to just hunting in a pirogue is, and really, it's really what you should do these days to start fooling these ducks, because these ducks are smart these days, and they're used to seeing, them big old boat blinds and just a big setup. And you go back to that pirogue with just a single hunter and hiding up in natural vegetation and just pond hunt, and that's how you're going to stay successful today. Look, these ducks in the 21st century are very smart today, and we only the only people we got to blame is us, because we're making them smart like that by using all this new technology, But you're going back to just a single hunter hunting at a pirogue is the way to go these days.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because the big craze is obvious. I'm in the boating industry, okay? That's what I do for a living. And the big craze is these guys. I see these young guys that are 18, they graduate high school, they get a job at a plant, they get a good job, they're making lots of money. And the first thing they want to do is go out and buy this big duck hunting rig because they think they need that to kill ducks, And I see it on the fishing side too. Guys get involved in these bass fishing tournaments and stuff. And I was myself the same way. And I tell them, I say, hey, you don't have to, start out with these rigs. You don't have to spend, $20,000, $30,000 on a setup just to go out and have some success in the field. And, Nate is proving that, especially you young guys that are, in high school right now. You may be listening to the show, and there's a lot of you guys I know that do, because I run into you and on public land, and you tell me, hey, I listen to the show, or hey, I watch YouTube and I see these videos. And I tell them all the time, I say, look, you don't have to have a big high dollar setup, to go out on public land and kill birds. If you don't believe me, go tune in to Nate's channel over at Fallen Tide. He's constantly out there in a pirogue or, kayaks or whatever they use in his group of guys is using that he hunts with. And look at the amounts of birds that they kill, the success that they have, and they don't ever have to, have a big expensive setup. I think to a certain extent, you hear a lot of guys talking about nowadays these mud motors are ruining it, playing a part in the numbers of birds not showing it up. What's y'all thoughts on that? Where's the future going? Do you think some of the other states, you think eventually we're going to see a ban on some of the mud motors on that type of stuff? Because there is talks about it. And I know that they've tried to pass laws before where, they talked about possibly banning them and stuff like that. Is that something that y'all see in the future here in Louisiana, waterfowl hunting? That's something that could occur?
You go ahead, Roland. I'll let you touch on this first.
I don't ever see them, in the type of environment that we hunt in, Jacob and Nate, I'll never see them outlaw mud motors. Mud motors are a necessity to us to get to where, places we've never gone before, but if you look back at, before the mud motors come out, man, I remember paddling my pirogue and you hearing ducks in the morning, you hearing gray ducks tatting and mallards hollering. Nowadays, when I'm sitting in my blind at 4 o'clock in the morning waiting for daybreak, all I hear is mud motors. I don't hear no ducks no more.
It's a good point.
But we hunt, when I do hunt public land, I hunt in these restricted areas to where you can't run a mud motor in it, and you hear that. You hear them birds in the morning moving, and I don't see them ever outlawing them because us living in South Louisiana with all this aquatic vegetation and stuff we have to go through, they'll never outlaw mud motors, but I do see them putting, restricted areas to where you can't use them.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think we're on the same page there, Roland. I don't necessarily see how they could outlaw mud motors when people use them so much. How can you, how would you pass that? How would that pass? You can't do that. There'd be a lot of lawsuits if you try to do that. But I would like to see on public land more emphasis on limited access areas. I'd love for them to create these large limited access areas, but still, when you go a long ways away on a management area, you can't tell somebody they got to paddle 5 miles to go hunt, 6 miles to go hunt. You can't do that. And like you said, some of the places you can't access them in an outboard. And what's the point of having public land if nobody can access it?
That's right. I do find. Go ahead, Nate. I'm sorry.
No, but also what I was going to say is I think people also abuse the mud motors. A lot of these birds are pushing way out in the Gulf to try to get away from the pressure of the mud motors, and guys riding around with mud motors scouting. And I was just having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and the way to scout waterfowl is not ride around until you jump up 1,000 ducks. That's not how you're supposed to do it. You try to. You need to stay quiet. You don't want to be jumping up those birds. You want them to be as comfortable as possible if you plan on hunting those ducks. And so,
and that's right, Nate.
Yeah. That's the biggest problem, I think.
Let's talk a little bit about
scouting.
when I'm riding and I'm scouting public land, I'm trying not to go into the interior marshes. I'm trying to scout from the main canals or the main rivers, and I'm using binoculars. And I'm watching birds from a distance, and I'm trying to pinpoint exactly where these birds are going or passing over. If I can't get on the X, I want to try to get under the birds, which, run traffic on them. And you're right there, Nate. You don't want to disturb them birds. You want to let them birds rest. The biggest problem I think that we have in Louisiana is pressure.
Yeah.
Definitely. Us as duck hunters, we have, we need to pressure, and it's hard because you hunt public land, or even if you hunt private land, you need to pressure management your birds, man. I mean, and that's number one in today's world. Everybody wants to talk about, the old days, or the good old days are now. The reason why people say the good old days are now is because of the equipment we use, the clothing, the boats, the guns, the shells. That's why people say, the good times are now, because of the equipment. But I still, but man, when it comes to scouting birds, you want to stay as far away from them as possible and watch them in their, natural habitat and see what they do. Because if you bump them birds up, they may not come back.
Yeah,
right.
That's a very good point too, Roland. And Nate said it perfect too. It's scouting, and I agree with that. And I'm glad somebody said it, because I think it, but I don't ever really say it out loud. Is that scouting birds is not taking your mud motor and going ride through an area and jumping up birds, and that's what a lot of guys do. And I'm as guilty as anybody. I did it myself until I started kind of realizing, hey, this ain't working, or hey, these birds. Why did I see 50 birds holding in this little stretch yesterday, but today there's nothing showing up, well, it's because I wasn't doing it right. I wasn't approaching it right. And that's what makes waterfowl hunting so hard as compared to deer hunting and stuff like that, in my opinion. It's because, the animals that we hunt have wings. They can get up and they can leave, as simple as that. They don't hold to a territory like a deer might hold to a territory, or, squirrels might hold to a territory or something like that. They could be there and they could be gone tomorrow. And us putting pressure on them like you guys are talking about, that is probably, if not the number one factor, it's a main factor of issues that we do see here in Louisiana. I'd have to agree with that. Any other thoughts on that y'all want to share, or that y'all see as far as public land goes, and hunting and stuff like that? It's crazy because they say that, we're having less and less hunting licenses every year, but we see more people on public land. I would have to say, it seems like that at least. And maybe it's just because we're losing land. And I think I told Roland this on another episode when we got together. I think a lot of the invasive species coming into the state, that areas that we used to be able to hunt, that you can't hunt no more because they either have Sylvania, they have hyacinth, or whatever it is. I think our availability to the land is doing this. It's shrinking, So the areas to hunt are a little bit smaller than they used to be, which everybody's going to those areas. And it seems like we might have more hunters when according to the statistics, they're telling us we're losing hunters every year. What's your thought on that?
I haven't. I mean, I know the numbers say that we're losing hunters, but I go out on public land and I don't think I've ever seen this many hunters. Yeah, I don't know I don't know what the deal is with it, but I see a lot of hunters on public land these days, especially places that I just didn't see a lot of hunters 10 years ago. More and more guys are getting out there and chasing ducks on public land, it seems like. And I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't know if you got a lot less hunters in the northern part of the state or the middle part or something, but I tell you what, down here in the south, there's a lot of hunters. So
yeah, it seems like it. Now, Roland, going back to that I want your opinion on this. Do you think it's possibly that a lot of these guys who had leases for years got tired of paying these high dollar leasing fees and these fees, yearly fees to hunt and not producing any birds, and they got out of them, and they possibly pushing more to public land now? Because that's something else I thought about. I said these guys might be tired of paying $7, $8, $10,000 for a blind and not producing, so they moving out and they going to public land.
You're correct, Jacob. I mean, with the economy the way it's going, and the invasive species and people that have been hunting private land for so long, not having access to it anymore, is driving more people on to public land. Look, I hunt some good public land all up along the.
I think we lost him, Nate. I see him, but we can't hear him. Y'all there, guys?
I'm here.
You can hear?
I can't hear Roland no more.
I can't hear Roland. I lost him. I see him, but I don't hear his voice. Roland, if you can hear us, we can't hear you at the moment. We can see you if you're watching on YouTube. Everybody can see you, but yeah, I think Nate, that a lot of those guys, possibly a lot of people are tired with these leases, and they're getting out of them. They're going more to public land, and I think that maybe that's why we're seeing such a big influx of public land hunters at the launches whenever we going.
It could be that, and I think also one thing I've noticed, especially down in like the salt marsh on the coast, I'm noticing less numbers of birds over there too. And so, maybe it's just that birds aren't quite as widespread as they used to be. Maybe they're really concentrating in certain areas, which, also makes the hunters concentrate on certain areas. And so you get a more concentrated number of hunters, whereas it used to be a lot more spread out where you can get away from the hunting pressure.
Yeah. Yep. That's a good point too.
Yeah. Not sure.
Well, Roland, we got you back now.
Yeah, I had some technical difficulties happen. Somebody was trying to call, but
that's all right.
That had a lot to do with why you're seeing more people. I mean, because I remember this same place, like Nate said, 10 years ago, didn't have 400 trucks at 4 o'clock in the morning waiting to get into the WMA.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, a lot of it is younger kids that are just getting into it. You don't see many older gentlemen or guys hunting anymore. It's mostly a younger crowd these days.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know if the numbers are accurate as far as how many hunters we have these days, but I just know that there's a lot more people that I see on public land than what I seen 10 to 15 years ago.
Yeah, and I agree with y'all. I think the numbers don't seem to match up to what we're seeing out there, which for whatever reason that may be. But like you mentioned, younger guys at the ramps. I mean, that's a good thing in my opinion. I like seeing the next generation come up and they're interested in waterfowl hunting. If we, and I mentioned this. I can't remember if it was on one of the YouTube videos or if it was in one of the podcasts. When Duck Dynasty got real big a couple of years ago. There would seem to be a big boom with a lot of young guys coming to the hunting scene, especially with waterfowl hunting. And a lot of us, including myself, I'll say it, including myself, I kind of turned my head to some of those guys, and I said, you know what? I said they don't seem to know how to act right. They, you set up, you get there, you set up. I'm talking public land, especially. And then you got a guy running in 30 minutes before daylight trying to go set up a decoy spread and do something like that. And I didn't really spend the time to probably educate some of these younger hunters and take these guys and say, okay, look, you're looking for somebody to introduce you to the sport. I'll take you. That's before my son was really coming with me all the time. So do y'all think that maybe we missed a little bit of that being able to pass down the way it's supposed to be done to the next generation, as compared to turning them away and letting them do their own thing, and then on the flip side we bitching about them?
Well, I think the main thing you're seeing is a lot of first generation duck hunters, and so they didn't get the hands-on teaching that somebody like myself got, and I'm pretty sure you two guys were born into waterfowl hunting, I'd imagine, right?
Yeah.
Y'all, yeah, exactly. So a lot of these guys are first generation duck hunters. They didn't have somebody to hold their hand in the beginning and teach them the right way. And so, you get a lot of guys that just don't know how to behave out there. They don't know the traditions of waterfowl.
Yeah.
They don't know it. So you can't really blame them for being ignorant. They don't know.
No,
and
you can't.
It's up to us to really, especially like me and you, Jacob, content producers,
Yeah.
We're creating content. We got to get the right message out there to people.
That's right.
Roland, you're seeing people every day, and I'm sure a lot of your guys are first time duck hunters and stuff too.
Jacob and Nate, we're stewards, man, to the sport. I mean, we need to pass on, what we do, man, and in order for it to grow and for people to learn, we need to teach them. No matter how much we think is going to affect our hunting, we need to pass on our passion and our traditions to newer generations. Because I mean, without them, this lifestyle that we live is going to die, man. Because there's not a lot of families that hunt. There's not a lot of daddies that hunt these days. A lot of them work. They may not have, with the economy the way things are. And then when me doing what I do for a living, and I see a lot of new hunters, and I try to teach them as much as I know about waterfowl hunting or hunting in general. Not just about the hunting part, but also about the taking care of the animal or whatever you harvest. How to process it, how to clean it, what to do, how to cook it. We have to pass that on to the future, or with the sport that we love is just gonna go away.
Yeah. And that's very well said, in my opinion. I agree with you 100% on that. Nate, you talking about us being content makers, as far as that goes. A lot of people ask me, I don't know about you, but they'll ask me, they say, man, why do you do it? How do you have time to work a full-time job? You do a podcast, you do, videos. And it seems like I got guys asking me, they said, man, it seems like you always outside waterfowl hunting. Do you work? Do you have a full-time job? And I'm like, yeah, man, I've done this before. Now we just have the technology to take a camera along and share it with other people. And a lot of it is educational purposes. That's the way I see it. It's education for my son, my two sons coming up. I want them to be able to look back, have those memories and say, okay, man, that was pretty cool. When I was, such an age or whatever age it was, I went hunting with my dad and, and things are changing constantly. We've talked about that, how much it's changed over the years. But a lot of what we do is to educate people. It's not just for props and to show people, oh, okay, look what I killed, because as I got older, to be honest with you, and Roland, you kind of, touched on this, it's not always about the limit anymore like it was when I was in my 20s. It used to be if I didn't kill a limit of birds or my group of friends didn't kill a limit of birds, it wasn't successful. That's the way we looked at it. We judged it by, and we measured it by. Now, I can go out there and kill 4 birds, 5 birds, but I know I put in that time, like you talked about, Nate, where I scouted that area, and I put feet on the ground and I went out there and I killed, I didn't, kill a limit necessarily, but I killed 4 or 5 birds and it was worth it. It justifies it for me, and I did it right. That's my point, or at least the way I look at it as doing it right. So I see us educating people. That's a big part of why we do what we do. And I'm sure you feel the same.
Yeah. I would say, if the ducks dry up and you only kill a couple of ducks or whatever, if you're not killing a lot of ducks, what's left? What's left to keep you there? If the answer to that question is nothing, you probably shouldn't be duck hunting.
Very well said.
I love being out there. I love the whole experience. I love throwing decoys. I love paddling a pirogue. I love driving the boat. I love spending time with my friends. I love dragging pirogues to dry lock ponds and stuff, landlocked ponds. I mean, I like doing that stuff. I like doing that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
And if you don't enjoy doing that kind of stuff, then you probably shouldn't be duck hunting. If all you're out there to do is hang up a strap of ducks, then you probably should just hang it up. So
that's very well said as well, man. I agree with that. And waterfowl hunters are just a different breed in general, man. I get all my buddies that are big deer hunters and this and that. They say y'all got to be out your freaking minds to do what y'all do. I had a buddy call me today. I was rolling down to the coast a couple of days ago, and it's 1:30 in the morning, and I posted something in the truck, on Instagram, and my buddy was headed to Kansas at the same time on a trip to do some waterfowl hunting in Kansas, and he messaged me and he's like, "Are you freaking awake right now?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." I said, "I'm headed down to the coast to do some hunting on some public land." And he calls me immediately. He's like, "Dude, are you out your mind?" He's like, "What time do you have to leave?" And I told him, I said, well, we rolled out at 1:30. That's when we left. And he's like, "Man, I tell you what," he said, "there's no way in hell I could do what y'all do." Because he's from Louisiana, this particular friend, but he hunts a lot up North Louisiana around you, Roland. He has some lease land up there. And he goes to Kansas now, and he's kind of shied away and went out of the state to do a lot of hunting now. That's what he's been doing, and he's had some success doing it, But waterfowl hunters are just a different breed, man. You know, you have to be somewhat a little off to do what we do in the freezing cold temperatures, the times we get up to do it. We're not just walking to a box stand. We're not just, you know, going climb up in a tree at daylight. You know, it's just a different scenario for us, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
I wouldn't trade it for nothing.
And I wouldn't either. And that's the truth. And Roland, you've been doing it. Roland, you the OG of the group, you know, so you've been doing it longer than all of us. I mean, what has kept you going all these years, Roland?
Man, it's the passion. I would, to be honest with you, Nate and Jacob, I wouldn't know where I'd be or what I'd be doing in life if it wouldn't be for ducks. You know, I wake up in the morning, I think about ducks 24/7, 365 days a year. Duck hunting is what I do. You know, I was, you know, and y'all gonna laugh, but I was watching Major Payne the other day.
Oh my God, that's my little boy's favorite show right now.
You know, when he says, you know, killing is my business and business is good, that's me, brother.
Yep.
You know, I love putting smiles on people's faces. And this morning for instance, I had 3 young men, never duck hunted before in their life, and there were smiles all morning long. I took a picture with them. It's on my Facebook.
Yes, sir.
3 happy young boys. We had 40.
Roland, you've always been an inspiration to me. You know, growing up as a kid, I looked at all your pictures and stuff, and I always was like, yeah, that's the kind of lifestyle I'd like to live one day. And look, man, I always looked up to you. So
hell, Nate, I still say that when I look at his pictures every day.
Man, look, I was very blessed. You know, I was blessed to be around the right people in my life to put me where I'm at today. You know, and man, look, and you'll hear me say it all the time. I'm just living the dream.
Yes, sir.
You know, I grew up, you know, thinking about this, you know, wanting to be in this business, and you know, and it's funny, man. It all revolved around ducks, you know. But you know, I learned how to blow a duck call, and that duck call took me around the United States, man, doing what I love. You know, it's a passion and it's an obsession, man. It's just something that I wake up in the morning and I want to do every morning.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
I understand 100%.
Yep, me too. Yep, we're the same.
And like Jacob said earlier, you know, when I was younger, it was all about the limits. But now it's just to see how you know, it's for the memories and just to see how close I can get them. You know, just to fool them birds every morning with a man-made call and see how close you can get them ducks to you.
Yep.
And I love it. Like I said, I wake up every morning here today at Bayou. I get to hunt some of the best ground in Louisiana, and I get to, you know, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to do that.
Yes, sir. You put your time in, so you've earned it, and you well deserved. I have to say that. So
absolutely.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So what's it looking like for the rest of the season right now at Days Bayou, Roland? What's going on? Do we have openings available? Let everybody know if there's anything available, if you guys would maybe be interested in booking a trip or possibly even setting up. Hey, it's never too early to be looking at maybe a Christmas gift, Roland, for next year. Maybe book a trip next year. You know, that's a good idea.
Pretty much. I mean, we're booked 100% as far as I know. So any bookings would have to be for the 2022-2023 season. As far as I know, for right now, we have a lot of people that are booking already for next year. So if anybody is thinking about booking a hunt at Days Bayou, they may want to start looking at booking soon.
Yep. And that's a great Christmas idea, you know, if you have a loved one that's a big waterfowl enthusiast or a deer hunter, because Days Bayou offers deer hunting opportunities as well, right, Roland?
Yeah, I mean, they do offer deer hunting opportunities here, and they got whitetails, red stag, cyca deer, and I want to say fallow deer here too. You know.
Okay, so the exotic opportunities there as well. And what about next year with the Cajun Invasion? That's something that you were very successful with this year. They did the first annual Cajun Invasion. Are there openings available for next year? Because if there are, I know that's something that goes pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the making. You know, we planned it. I didn't really start trying to book it yet. I'll probably start at the end of the waterfowl season. come up with the dates and and all that later. So everybody needs to be looking, for that sometime maybe in February and March when I put it out as far as the dates and how many guns we're going to take. But yeah, I see the second annual Cajun Invasion Speckle Belly Hunting Stuttgart is going to go pretty quick.
I bet it will. After this year, y'all had a lot of success, man. From what I saw on social media, there was they had quite a bit of specs in the pictures, and y'all did really, really well, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we shot 54 birds the first day in under 45 minutes, and then the second day we shot 48 birds in about, I think it was 30 minutes, but we kind of took our time. But some of the video that I've posted, and y'all surely be looking for the Bayou Wild season 7 to come out sometime in late winter, so y'all can watch the whole episode.
Yep, I look forward to it, man. That's pretty awesome. Like I said, that trip, if y'all end up planning that trip again next year, which it looks like y'all will, it's going to go quick. So if you're interested in getting on some of the best spec on that's available out there, keep an eye out for Roland with the Cajun Invasion trip next year to Arkansas. That's something you guys do not want to miss out. Great opportunity as a Christmas gift, bachelor party. Any of that type of stuff, man. It'd make a great event, or book a trip with them at Dave's Bayou, because you hunt with one of the best, most experienced guys out there in the field, and you'll have a good time with them, man. So, and Nate, with Fallen Tide, it keeps growing. We talked about it, man. What's the future hold for Fallen Tide right now? What are we looking forward to the rest of this year, hunting season? Are you expanding out? You're going to get into the fishing side of things? You do a little bit of everything. I mean,
I do.
You kind of like me. It's outdoors. It's outdoors. Squirrel hunt, everything.
It's outdoors, yeah. Now, I will say this. Eventually, in the long term, I'd like to pretty much be just a duck hunting, content creator. Now, on Fallen Tide TV, I'm not saying that I won't have some fishing, but hopefully that'll be somebody else handling that side of it.
Gotcha.
So I want to try to find eventually a really good fisherman that could really teach people and really educate people on the water. That's really not my thing. I consider myself to be strictly a waterfowl hunter. And but I do get out there, and right now there's nobody to do the fishing side, so I do that too. But if you're watching my fishing videos, you're just watching me spending time in the outdoors. Don't be coming looking for me for no advice on fishing, because I ain't got it. But I try. But yeah, the long term, obviously Fallen Tide is a brand. I'd like to grow the brand. I plan on having cooking segments and many other different outdoor segments as well, not just duck hunting. We want to cover everything down here in Louisiana eventually, and bring on different content creators to help the brand grow as we move forward. So
that's awesome, man. Keep it up. You're doing a great job with it. And you mentioned cooking. That's a huge part of. I know when we do a couple of cooking videos and stuff like that. I grew up. My family's actually in the restaurant business. Grew up around a restaurant. And, I grew up around Evangeline Parish, right at the heart of Acadiana in that area. And cooking was a huge part of my upbringing. So I find, and you probably could, both of y'all can, attest to this. But when you do a cooking video, especially Louisiana cooking, there a lot of people are interested. There's a lot of questions about it. And people they want to know, man. So there's a lot of possibility for future content there for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I gotta find somebody who can cook real good.
Just gotta find a good cook, huh?
Yeah. I do what I do, but I'm definitely not I'm not a chef. I can make things taste good, but when you put it on your plate, it ain't fancy. It's just
it's good.
It's good, but I can't. I'm not with the whole art of the plate.
That's right. So. Me too. Yeah. I'm with you. I'm on the same page. That gumbo you cooked the other night looked pretty good. I gotta admit, man. That turned out pretty good. It looked like so.
Yeah, that was really good. I say, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm gonna toot real quick because that gumbo come out good. Yeah,
it looked good, man. That's something you can bring in the duck blind with you and have the next day, and it's even better than the night you cook it. So, guys, what do y'all see? Okay, so we're gonna be wrapping up here in a couple of minutes. But as far as where we are now, first split with the waterfowl. Overall, are y'all pretty happy with the way the first split's going so far? I think we've kind of touched on that, but where do y'all see the rest of the season going? What are we hoping for?
Go ahead, Roland.
I mean, so far we are from what I'm hearing here, we're below average a little bit, but it's been a very productive first split for us. Now, with that being said, probably 90% of what we've killed so far has been green wing teal. We've shot pintail. We've had a couple good mallard hunts. We shot some gray ducks, some widgeons, a few divers, but I still think the best is yet to come.
Okay.
And like I said, all y'all got to do is kind of stay, I guess, visual on my, Instagram, Facebook, and then you'll see, because when you see me shooting a good many birds, that, we've had a push up here in Northeast Louisiana, that them birds are going to make it south, within that day or the next day. So, I still think the best is yet to come. I'm very optimistic for this season. I really do think December is going to be a good month. And then after that, we'll focus on finishing out in January. The birds have been reacting good so far. Some days with no wind, they've been a little skittish, but overall, it's been a productive, season for us here at Days Bayou.
Well, good. That's good to hear. And you mentioned a good point. You guys go check out Roland's pages, because that's a great, we talked about technology, scouting online a little bit. That's part of it. You'd be crazy not to use that technology a little bit. When you see birds pushing up on Roland's page where he's killing different species and stuff in North Louisiana, it's a good telltale sign, guys, that we got, new birds moving into the area and so on and so forth. Nate, you and I, public land, man, we're beating it down. I know that you brought up a really good point in the show earlier about not pounding the same territory, not hammering a spot to death because you have a little bit of success. What are you looking forward to? Where do you think we're going to finish out the first split, and what are you looking forward to as far as second split goes, the outlook of it on things?
Well, I'll say for my guys, the first split was good. This was one of the better first splits that we've had. Now that also could be from just years of experience hunting with a group of guys, and we're bouncing ideas back and forth, and that might have something to do with it. But I did notice a jump in the numbers this year in the first split. But I'm hoping that we get a good gray duck push in the second split and into the end of the season. I'm hoping we get that. If we get that, I'll probably stay on the puddle ducks for the rest of the year. That's what I'm hoping for. Last year on public land, especially, I noticed that the gray duck numbers kind of dwindled pretty fast, and I was forced to kind of get after the divers. And I will say that was fun. That was something that I really never done growing up, was really chase divers. But focusing on the divers last year, getting out into that big water and putting out these big spreads with decoys, I spray painted the backs of them white. Yeah. And targeting canvas backs and the dogrees and stuff. And I had a blast doing that. Number one, it takes the stress out of it a little bit, because you don't have to hide quite as much. And a lot of the places we're hunting is like hard bottom. You get out and walk around and stuff, and
that makes it a little easier.
Hunting. Man, I'd come home, I'd be clean. I'm like, I never went on a duck hunt and come home clean.
You don't have that stinking marsh mud all over everything.
So I will say it was an absolute blast, and we got some great content last year chasing divers. So if the gray ducks want to be stingy as the second split comes around, I'll probably go back to shooting those divers. If not, you'll see us chasing them puddle ducks the rest of the year. So
yeah, there you go.
I'm excited. Whatever comes, just bring it on. We'll have fun either way. So
that's it. And I'm the same way.
That's right.
I'm the same way with you. We're going to continue chasing those puddle ducks as long as they're showing up. Honestly, Nate, I really think we haven't seen the big push of gray ducks that we usually get yet. I think that's something that we're going to have. Hopefully, that we're going to get here a little bit later. Last year, like you said, was that
all the gray ducks in Texas right now?
That's what they're saying. I have a buddy in Texas that hunts on. He has some land up there, and he said widgeon and gray ducks, more gray ducks than he's ever seen in his life right now in Texas. So who knows, man? I know the widgeon. A lot of guys are saying the widgeon show up in Texas more and more every year. We did shoot a couple of widgeons so far this year. That's good to see. But the gray ducks, even though we're killing some, I still think, that they haven't shown up in the full numbers that we're going to see as far as that goes. So, and like you said, much like you said, if the puddle ducks dry up, then there's always divers. A lot of guys shun, away from the divers. But man, I tell you, if you don't diver hunt and that's what's around, you're missing out. because it is awesome. It's fast. It's furious. It's great action, especially if you got a youth hunter. You know, if you got a youth hunter with you, it keeps them entertained. It keeps them in the game. I made a hunt yesterday, and we didn't have a big number of gray ducks work us yesterday. I killed one gray duck out of the group, and we had what we thought were teal. Actually, it was low light kind of condition. They came in on us, and it ended up being a group of bufflehead, and we got everyone out of the group. Nice. And my boy was fired up because he popped two of them out of the group, and and when he got it, he's like, "Man, Dad, I never killed a bufflehead before," And a lot of guys would shun away and they'd say, "Oh, that's trash," But to him, that was a big achievement. That was something he's never shot before, and really enjoyed it. So don't shun away from it if that's what the opportunity allows. So it may keep your season going. It's going to keep things interesting, and it'll keep it fun for them.
Oh yeah. Definitely don't shy away from the divers. If they're there, if you got divers to go shoot them because they're a lot of fun. I love it.
That's right.
I love
Nate, hey, me too, and I'm the same way. So, but guys, thank y'all. Look, I know we're wrapping up. We all got things to do. We're in hunting season right now. We're getting ready to make some hunts. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to this week's show. Nate, where can everybody find you at, man? Let them know.
Instagram's at Falling Tide TV, and you can look me up on YouTube also as well at Falling Tide TV. So yeah, y'all go ahead and check that out. We got a lot of videos coming. I got like 6 or 7 videos sitting on my computer right now that I need to edit. That's why I'm taking off the next few days. And I probably won't be hunting until not tomorrow, but next Sunday. So today's Saturday for everybody who's watching. I don't know if this is live or what, but next Sunday will probably be the next hunt that I actually make. So I'll be editing. So y'all be watching for those videos because I got a lot coming.
Guys, check them out. Fallen Tide TV, awesome content. Go check them out on YouTube. Roland, what are you? Where can guys find you? Where can people locate you at? Let them know once again, man.
I mean, if anybody wants to, social media, pretty much where you can hold of me. Facebook, Instagram. You can look me up on there. I mean, and if anybody wants to know content about Dave's Bayou, you can go on the web. They have a Facebook page too. Dave's Bayou's Lodge and Outfitter, and you can look up. You'll find all the information you need about Dave's Bayou. Guys, I'd love for us, all 3 of us, to get together and make a hunt together. Yeah, we need to do that one day.
We need to do it, man. We need to do it. Maybe a second split. We could. You say when, and we'll try to make it work, Roland. We'll all come up with a place we can hunt together, and we'll do it, man.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely. I'd definitely like to do that. But look, I'd love to do this again, guys. Like always, Jacob, Nate, it's a pleasure, man. I'm very fortunate that y'all let me come on here and tell my story, Jacob. It's been fun, man, doing these podcasts with you, and I appreciate every bit of it.
We love having you, man. You're a fan favorite, Roland. You're a fan favorite right now, so I appreciate you, man. They love having you on the show. I've got comments, and I try to pass that stuff along to you and talk to you about it. But it's been great, man. Nate, I wish you the best, man, too. Thank you so much as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. This is a pleasure, and I wish you the best of luck. I wish you the most success, and just keep on doing what you're doing, man. I'm loving the videos you've been putting out. Love it, man. Love it.
Well, thank you so much, man. Same here. Feelings mutual. So, Roland, you had anything in closing you wanted to say?
Nate, keep up the good work, man. I'm a big fan of what you're doing, man. I love watching your videos, man. Keep it up.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you, man. I've always looked up to you, Roland. I hope all is well.
I appreciate it. I try to be a good person. I try to make sure I steer people right, and man, I'm just glad to be doing what I'm doing. Like I said, I'm a big fan of what you're doing, man. Keep up the good work.
Same to you, man. Thank you.
Well, guys, thank y'all so much. I took up enough of y'all time this week. We'll get together hopefully again here in the future, but I'm going to let y'all cut out of here. Just want to thank you again for having y'all on, guys, and y'all be careful out there in the field. Good luck to y'all, okay?
Have a good day, y'all.
Okay, guys. Thank y'all. Right. Well, guys, there it is. If you didn't enjoy that, something's probably wrong with you. Just 3 good old boys from here in Louisiana having a conversation about waterfowl hunting and the outdoors here in Louisiana. I hope you guys enjoyed having Roland on once again with us. He is a huge contributor to our podcast here He told me, when we got together that he wanted to come on multiple times throughout the year. He was a fan of the show, and he wanted to help contribute and help anybody out that was interested in waterfowl hunting. And Nate, guys, great guy. Go check him out, Fallen Tide TV. Some amazing content that Nate puts out there. He has a story to tell, and that's what attracted me to him as far as having him on the show in order for all of my listeners to listen to and get acquainted with, guys. So that's really all we got. I know we went over our normal hour time frame, but I hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you did, we appreciate you sharing this show with your friends on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. And for those of you streaming on YouTube, we appreciate you tuning in and looking at three faces that are made for radio. We appreciate that. Until next time, guys, this is Jacob with Last Stop Waterfowl Outdoors Podcast. We'll see y'all again soon. Take care.